Okay. All right, well, thank you for being here today as you hear about yet another drug trafficking organization that has been dismantled here in Orange County. So as you know, our agency works very hard to take down these drug trafficking organizations that are just infusing deadly drugs into our community. So nothing makes me happier than when we look at these posters and know that our partners at the Attorney General's Office of Statewide Prosecution is going to prosecute these individuals to the fullest extent of the law. And so that means mandatory minimum sentences for most of these folks ranging from 15 to 25 years. So in September of last year, the Orange County Sheriff's Office and the Florida Department of Law Enforcement began this multi-jurisdictional investigation into this drug trafficking organization that spanned from Orange to Polk to Osceola to Hillsborough County. And what the two folks at the top were doing is they were importing drugs, fentanyl from California and Mexico, and cocaine from Puerto Rico. So this drug trafficking organization is responsible for importing pounds and pounds of fentanyl and cocaine into our community. And so our narcotics agents worked extremely hard to identify this organization and take them down and make many arrests. So in total, 19 people are charged with trafficking in fentanyl, trafficking in cocaine, also conspiracy to traffic in fentanyl and cocaine. And those charges, again, have mandatory minimum sentences ranging from 15 to 25 years. So they're not going to be around in our community anytime soon. So in all, 6 pounds of fentanyl and 4 pounds of cocaine were seized in this operation. That's a street value of over $1.5 million. So we recovered 9 firearms, and 1 of which was stolen, and $50,000 in cash. So this was a collaborative effort between the Orange County Sheriff's Office, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and the statewide prosecutors at the Attorney General's Office. And so you'll hear more about this from others, but this investigative work was made possible through the SAFE program, and that's the State Assistance for Fentanyl Eradication. And so that program provides funding and resources, technical support for these investigations. So as you can imagine, drug dealers don't work 9 to 5. They work all hours of the night and weekends. They go to different communities, different counties. They're constantly getting rid of their phones and their cars. So to do an investigation like that, it costs a lot of money. But the benefit of this investigation is that these folks will not be in our community putting these deadly drugs here in Orange County or anywhere else. And they're going to be going away for a long time, 15 to 25 years. And I will say that these investigations save lives. Last year in Orange County, there were nearly 200 overdose deaths, specifically from fentanyl and cocaine. So putting folks like this away will save lives in this community. I couldn't be prouder of the hard work the men and women, the Orange County Sheriff's Office, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and our statewide prosecutors. And a lot of this work is not the glamorous stuff you see in TV and movies. It's a lot of waiting around, watching, trying to build this case so that these folks never put drugs into our community again. So I want to thank the Attorney General for his partnership, and the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, the state of Florida, for this generous funding that helped with this investigation. And this won't be our last takedown of dangerous criminals in our community. We're going to continue to work these large-scale operations through the SAFE program. And again, if you're dealing drugs here in Orange County or anywhere in the state of Florida, you're going to go away for a long, long time. So now I'll turn it over to the Attorney General, James Uthmeier.
Thank you to Sheriff Mina and his team. I also want to thank Florida Department of Law Enforcement. We have Assistant Commissioner Lee Massey here who will speak in just a few minutes. When we say we want to make Florida the safest state in the country to raise a family, that is a promise. And it is a promise that we are only able to keep because of these guys. We've got the best law enforcement in the country. There's no doubt about that. And I think today's announcement is just further evidence of that. You've got great coordination here amongst multiple agencies as we take down a major drug trafficking organization here in Central Florida. So as the sheriff said, my Office of Statewide Prosecution is bringing charges against 19 individuals. 17 have already been arrested over the last couple days. 2 remain at large, but we will get them, and we will prosecute them to the fullest. Our administration, over the past few years, has made combating the fentanyl crisis a priority. We've passed numerous pieces of legislation that the governor has signed to increase penalties where these traffickers dangerously expose law enforcement to fentanyl. There are second-degree felonies now for that. If you are trafficking fentanyl and somebody somewhere dies and it can be tied to you, you are liable for a first-degree felony and you're going to go away for a long time. So we are keeping the streets safe. We are advancing rule of law. Florida is seeing record low crime numbers across the state, and it's because we back our law enforcement and we put people away who do harm to our communities. So 19 arrests, you had 10 pounds here of fentanyl and cocaine, 6 pounds of fentanyl, which is enough to kill 1.3 million people. That's what's on the streets right now. And every single day, my office, and I know these guys are hearing the same stories of families losing loved ones to fentanyl. Fentanyl is the most dangerous illicit drug we've ever seen. It can kill people in very small amounts, and it's finding its ways into families, into less severe drugs, a joint of marijuana. You'll have a young person that smokes this not understanding what's totally involved. So we take this seriously. We're going to continue to throw every resource and tool we have at combating the fentanyl crisis. Most of these drugs were traced to Mexico and California. This has largely been an open border problem. It is a new form of warfare where our adversaries are impacting our communities by bringing fentanyl in through Central and South America and ultimately making its way into every home in the country. We're going to stand strong, we're going to fight back, and we're going to ensure we have rule of law. The SAFE program that the sheriff mentioned has been a tremendous success. We hope to continue it. I know our legislature is having a little bit of a roadblock on the budget right now, but I very much hope when they iron everything out, which they will do, that the SAFE program continues to see good funding, because today this announcement would not have happened but for that grant program. The SAFE program provides tools and resources to local law enforcement to help them combat fentanyl. In total, we've already seized over 175 kilos of fentanyl. As a result of the program, we've made over 1,500 arrests. And that's not including all of the weapons, millions of dollars in cash, vehicles, and other associated ties to trafficking and other crimes that we found as a result of this program. So again, I want to thank law enforcement. I want to thank the federal partners for helping us shut down the border and combat this dangerous issue at the national level. And rest assured that as Attorney General, we will fight drug traffickers to the fullest. If you want to engage in this type of behavior in Florida, get ready to do some time. So, thank you.
Good morning. My name is Lee Massey, M-A-S-S-I-E. I'm one of the assistant commissioners with FDLE, and I'm honored and humbled to stand with the sheriff and the general and speak about an incredible case that was actually accomplished by the amazing work and effort of the men and women of the Orange County Sheriff's Office, the men and women of the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and the state attorney's general's investigative task force or prosecutors. A lot of their commitment allowed orders to be signed expeditiously and provide the ability for the investigators to get the job done. So I'm going to speak a little bit to the SAFE itself, the program. I'll let the sheriff and Captain Ela speak to the specifics of the investigation. Just SAFE, and to reiterate a little bit of what the general said, program started in 2023, fiscal year 23. The governor at the time decided the best way to fight this problem was, this epidemic, was to provide funding to law enforcement to go out and do what they're very good at. And in 23-24, we are provided $20 million to go out and start this SAFE initiative. Followed up in the 24 fiscal year, 24-25, with another $8.5 million. I will tell you, to date, we have spent in excess of $22 million of the $28 million we've been provided, and we plan on spending more in the year to come to continue to eradicate this poison from our streets. I cannot thank the Governor DeSantis, the state legislators enough for passing this initiative, providing this funding, and allowing these cops to go out and do the fantastic work that they do. And ultimately, we can talk about numbers, we can talk about dollars, we can talk about anything you want to speak to, but at the end of the day, what we're talking about is saving lives. And when you're saving lives, you're doing exactly what we all got in this business for. Protect and serve is exactly that. We are saving lives. The support of the leadership standing behind me, Captain Ela and his team, it's just an incredible thing that the state of Florida has done. And I would put this program up against any program in the country to say this is absolutely, based on results, one of the most effective investigative initiatives I've ever seen. I've been in this business over 40 years. I spent a lot of time in the narcotics industry, field, investigative. It's phenomenal, and the stats speak for themselves. So, again, I want to thank leadership. We sometimes have a tendency to point fingers and blame the leadership for preventing us from doing certain things. This is not the case. This was an amazing, amazing decision made by leaders of this state to provide this funding, to have a general that says, you go get them and we'll prosecute them and we won't have to deal with them again. 25 years is a long time. I can promise you that the next time these guys go to jail, I will not be standing at this podium speaking to that case. So that's a nice thing to know. Again, I want to thank the Orange County Sheriff's Office and tell you how humbled I am to have had FDLE work side by side with these men and women. It was an amazing, very complex and complicated job for a year. This case, to show you the value of fentanyl, was $1 million. I don't know if the sheriff would be willing to say, I'm going to take $1 million out of my budget to work an investigation, but this is the only way we're going to cut the head off the snake. So kudos to the investigators, kudos to the sheriff for taking the word of the captain to say this is valuable and allowing us to come and work as partners, and thanks to the general for prosecuting the case. So job well done, gentlemen. Thank you.
All right, well, thanks, Lee. Again, just an amazing investigation with 19 people that are going to be going away for a long time. And like as was said, it bears repeating, these investigations will save lives here in this community and abroad. So we're happy to answer any questions about the investigation, and I'll have Captain Ela come up as well.
Sure. Do any of these suspects face potential action from ICE or even here in the state legally?
Yeah, at least one of them. You want to speak to that?
None of them, we believe, are here illegally right now. There is one individual that's still pending in this investigation that may be here on some type of a visa, and we're tracking that down.
Can you speak to us of the investigative methods you guys use to track down these suspects? Was it controlled by, surveillance? Just what led to these 17 and 19 off the streets?
Everything that you mentioned and then some. So yes, undercover buys, a lot of surveillance, a lot of technical support, a lot of hours. This investigation was about 75 days. 7 days a week, 14 to 16 hours a day for the duration. So a lot of staffing hours, a lot of hard work, and everything that we could throw at it with the assistance of the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. They kicked in resources, they kicked in staffing, they kicked in technical skill sets and equipment, good collaborative effort, and everything we could throw at it.
There's a lot, unfortunately, a lot of people dealing drugs on the streets of Florida. What made these guys a priority?
Well, you know, when we received tip information about this group, we vet it. We receive a lot of information from, you know, people within our community about all kinds of illegal activity, and drugs are certainly not unique to that. When we started looking into this, although they transcend Orange County, it became clear that the bulk of their work was within our jurisdiction. The sheriff mentioned some other jurisdictions that they did operate within, but I would venture to say probably 90% of their dealing was within our borders. So what made this near and dear to us at the sheriff's office is that this is directly impacting our citizens and the people that we're here to protect.
Sheriff, I see you got 9 firearms recovered. You said one of them was stolen. Were any of the others perhaps linked to any other crimes that you're aware of?
So anytime we recover firearms, they're run through the NIBIN system, the Ballistics Information Network, and so we'll be able to see if those guns are tied to any other case here in Central Florida, or really, the state of Florida.
Any of these particular individuals have, or any of these individuals have particular history with your office that you're aware of this stuff?
You want to answer that, Mina?
Yes, several of them do have criminal histories. Some of the histories are significant. There's some attempted murders and some aggravated crimes with firearms and stuff like that. So, yeah, there is criminal history for some of them. I can't speak individually to who has it, but I was aware of that throughout the investigation.
Question for Attorney General Uthmeier. This relates to the whole federal issue. We have a mother here locally, Gage Taylor, lost her son to an overdose. She lobbied hard for the lawmakers to build sides down to pass Gage's law. She recently contacted our station much too because there's another bill headed to the governor's desk, Senate Bill 68, that had one line in there that basically changed it to say if the results are positive for fentanyl, the hospital may, not must, perform that second test. She is very concerned about this language. Are you aware about this? You know if the governor plans to sign that second bill? Can you talk more generally about the importance of the fentanyl testing in the hospitals?
Yeah, I'm not aware of the specific line you're referencing, and I know better than to get out ahead of the governor on his prerogative to sign bills. What I can say is, it's everywhere. We see it everywhere, and fentanyl is seeping into so many other aspects of organized crime. So you've got fentanyl, you've got human trafficking, we see major connections to retail theft, you've got major ties to other drug efforts. It is the centerpiece of everything. So we're going to do everything we can. I can assure you the governor wants to combat fentanyl to the fullest possible. Any resource, we will spare no expense. When it comes to this crisis, we are all in as a state.
Everybody good?
All right, thank you.
No, I'm just sending it back to Greg Fox.
Okay.
Awesome, yeah. So he's going to talk about this thing. All right. Thanks, man.
So everybody ready to roll on this one now? Charles?
I'm sorry?
We're live.
Rolling.
We're not live.
You don't want to be.
Definitely not live. Definitely wouldn't be live.
All right, so he does not have anything prepared. You guys are the ones who came here wanting to ask questions, so go ahead. go from there.
Go ahead.
You and I have talked many times over the years about this topic. Can I just get your general reaction to that, especially when it comes to the way that these times are calculated?
Well, obviously here at the Sheriff's Office, our job and our goal is always to provide the best service we can to our community. And anytime we realize that we're not doing things at an optimal level, we want to get better. So from one standpoint, the report, while it is not necessarily what we would want to hear, it gives us an opportunity to improve the service that we provide for this community. So I think that's probably the key thing. And a lot of the things that are in the report have already been addressed, particularly the answer time, which the answer time is probably the biggest thing. And it's a little confusing when you start thinking about how is that calculated, because the answer time is the time that someone calls 911 and the time that an actual dispatcher answers the call. Then the state requires us to answer 90% of the calls within 10 seconds. That is what we use with something we call ring time, which means that's the time it actually hits our public safety and answering port. So it hits our comm center. That ring time is where we determine if we were meeting that 90%. We know during this audit we come to find out that we were not calculating that time right, and that calculation is not done by our staff, it's done by the county's 911 office. And we have a thing that's called automatic call distributor, which when a call comes from the public, it goes to the ACD, it goes in that queue, and then once a dispatcher is available, then the dispatcher gets the call. So that's a queue time. So the way that the state requires us to calculate it is queue time plus ring time, and the 911 office and our management staff was only using the ring time, and that's why the numbers aren't exactly what we thought they were going to be.
When did you realize on your end that this was going on? I know the audit just came out today, but when did you realize, and since that realization, have you seen improvement?
I think we knew, I don't have an exact time frame, but we knew for a little bit that we weren't meeting the 90%, and I think that kind of came after COVID when our staffing dropped significantly. We were down about 48%, which is about 75 to 80 dispatchers. So we knew we weren't meeting the times. The problem is that some of the information we were receiving from the 911 office was saying that we were meeting the time. So because some of their software wasn't working right. But what we've done since then is, like I said, we had about 75 to 80 vacancies from about 2022 to probably mid 2024. Now, as of today, we only have 10 vacancies. So we've done a lot to recruit additional staffing. That includes everything from salary increases to incentives to just our recruiting team has been out just hitting the streets and trying to find qualified applicants that want to serve this community.
Were there anything in that audit or suggestions made that you hadn't considered that you gave up?
I think some of there's some AI things that are in there that talks about using AI. There's some things about key performance indicators and using APCO, which is the organization that kind of regulates communication centers around the country. So we're looking at that and kind of implementing some of the suggestions that they've made. So.
Now seeing that audit and seeing the difference in time in the calculation, all the stories that have come out over the years about people waiting and it ringing and ringing to sit, did that put it into perspective and did that help solve some of the disconnect that was there? Or? It
helps some. I mean, I think, like I said, we knew because I've talked to people who have experienced an extended answering experience. So what I will tell you is, if you do call 911, and I know because a lot of people expect you call 911 and it's answered really, really quick. If you don't get an answer really, really quick, don't hang up, because what happens then is, as you hang up, that call is still in our queue, and our dispatchers are then required by law to call that number back to make sure everybody's okay. So I would tell you, even if you do experience an extended call time, stay on the line. You will be answered in the order, like the message says you will be answered in the order that you called. So I think that helps. But I think with increasing our staffing, I think that is going to significantly improve the customer service that our residents are receiving.
Is that your message to people out there who are listening and might be calling 911 this afternoon?
Absolutely. Don't hang up. we at the sheriff, like I said, we at the sheriff's office, we're going to do everything in our powers to serve this community with the best possible service that we can provide, and that includes answering the 911 call. I think that's real important.